Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome back. I'm Nina Haganis, and this is Somos Hispanos. Today's episode is going to look a little different than you may be used to. You'll see our board member, Isabel Olvera, interviewing our featured guest on this episode of Somos Hispanos. She met with Delta College's new president, Dr. Michael Gavin. Later in the show, we met up with a member of the League of Women Voters with information for the upcoming election. We had the opportunity to meet with Delta College's new president, Dr. Michael Gavin. This was a very candid meet and greet, an opportunity to help us understand not only his vision for Delta College, but the tangible actions the college is taking to reach, grow, and enrich students while in school and post-graduation. Let's listen to their discussion now.
Dr. Gavin, it's a pleasure to meet you today. Thank you for your time.
Happy to be here.
So briefly, could you tell us what you see as the role of community college?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question, because I actually think, especially today, that where you hear a lot of questions about whether college is worth its value, which is out there in the national discourse, well, community colleges are a way in which to get an education at a lower price but high quality. So we're actually the answer to that value proposition question, even though it's often not talked about in the mediated sphere. So in my mind, we're the institution in America that is best positioned to deliver on the American promise of democracy and equality. Because we offer free access, often access to an education, but also a better life, more so than most institutions in America. And we're very mission-centric. I like to say we accept our top 100% of applicants here.
Okay.
So everybody gets in, and we have to do our best to make sure everybody graduates. But I think one of the things to answer your question is that in the national landscape, we are that institution that can answer the question of why go to college, because and who gets to go to college. Community colleges have a special place in the nation for that reason, and I do think that some of the work that we have to do nationally as well as community college leaders is to make sure that we shift the answer to be, when people are asking what the value of college is, well, you mean what the value of four-year college is. The value of community college is, it's explicitly in our mission.
Okay.
Low cost education at a high quality to get a better job, better life.
Great.
Yeah.
Delta first opened its doors in 1961, and it's grown quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think you agree that it has helped the surrounding Great Lakes Bay area also grow and become successful. So could you share a little bit? I know that you're new to the area, but you can probably think of some things that where Delta has played a part in that success.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So one of the best statistics I like to cite just to reinforce that point is we apparently, the college most represented in all of Dow globally is Delta College. So, that obviously we're not all across the globe, but that tells you that we have a major impact on the workforce of this region. We also are constantly at work with our partners, business partners especially, to think about ways in which we can support their current workforce or create new. In fact, we're in pretty good conversations right now with Hemlock, a semiconductor, and we will be with SK Siltron. We actually are with SK Siltron about building the workforce when they're ready to go. But with the federal government coming out with CHIPS Act for semiconductor purposes, these companies come to us, and we're grateful for it, to think about how we can help train their future workforce.
Right.
And that's not atypical. So whether it's a Garber or the companies I've already mentioned, that we are part and parcel of the community. And I'll just leave this last point. I was talking to Don Bichon at SVSU earlier today, and just it was an informal conversation, and he said, what would this region do without either of our institutions?
Right.
Thinking about, we actually have, between the two institutions, actually have a huge part of the workforce, right? So we have 800 people here. He's got 1,000 there. So we obviously serve other areas, but ourselves are part of the workforce engine too. So.
Yes. Can you give us an idea of the demographic groups, the types of students that Delta serves, and also are there any special needs that those students might have?
Yeah, that's a great question again. So again, being an open access institution, we have all kinds of students, and I think that's one of the greatest things about working at a community college. So we have about 8,000 students here, which is pretty good for post-pandemic enrollment. We're demographically, in terms of race, race and ethnicity, we are about 77% white. And my math's not going to be correct on this, I have to tell you. So let me do it the other way. We're 16% African American, 11% Hispanic, so that's 27. So 73% white. Very small amount of Asian students. And then interestingly, like many community colleges and colleges in general, we are seeing a significant gap also in male to female. So we are 64% women, 36% males. And we serve everyone, but the gaps in enrollment, especially with Hispanic students and male students, compared to the county demographics that we serve. So just to be sure I break that down real easily, if we have 50% women and 50% men in 3 counties, then we should have 50% women and men enrolled. We're not quite there with Hispanic, and we're definitely not there with males of all races and ethnicities. So our age, I can talk about this data forever. Our age is about a mean of 26, so a lot of adult students. And all of this means that we have different students have different needs. And what we're finding is that our students are, in general, very successful academically. What gets in the way is life, right? So transportation, food, mental health, like we talked about earlier, clothing. These are the things that are really impacting our students day to day. And we are, again, same answer to earlier, but one of the things I'm really proud of is that this fall was the first time in which we provided free transportation, round trip nonstop from Saginaw to the main campus for any student, and that's 4 round trips a day.
Wow,
so
very good.
That's the kind of thing that we're trying to do. I like to say the hardest part of college should be in the classroom, not getting to it. And so we're really trying to figure out how to remove barriers so that students really can focus on the academic part of life, rather than being stressed out about where's my child care and how do I get my next meal, which is a real thing many of our students are facing. So
almost kind of like a wraparound type of a service or approach, right? So,
and I think that's honestly, I think the next iteration of community colleges will have those kind of services on their campuses. And it probably will rely on partners coming in and sitting on our college campus rather than sending our students to those services, because I think most people see the benefit of education and those services being in one location rather than many.
And I've heard also about the tuition-free Reconnect program, and that's for in-district community college degree. Could you explain how that works?
Yep. So exactly like you stated, you have to be 25 or older. Without a college degree. And if you fit those criteria, you can come to community college for free. No matter what area you're pursuing. And
wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great deal.
Yes, it sure is.
We're seeing pretty good return, I should say, on that. About 1,000 students this fall.
Wonderful.
But it's really great, especially for those people. Just to put a plug in there. Obviously, if you're unemployed, but if you are employed and you want to switch careers, this is the time to do it before if that option were to run out. we would love to make sure that it doesn't on you, right?
And I've also heard that there are several scholarships that eligible students can pursue at Delta College.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about that? Where can they get more information about that?
All students have to do is fill out what's called a FAFSA. It's your financial aid form,
Okay.
right? And even to do that, our financial aid office would help a student do that. It is a little complicated, and we've made some good strides in making sure that it's really easy. And then the process we've set up is we will help you, based on that information, we'll look for scholarship dollars for you.
Oh, wonderful.
So we don't need you to do the research on which scholarship you need to go after. We will do that for you, and we will try to find any money we can for you to come to college.
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
That it's such a great assistance to have, you know, support to have,
Yeah.
to be able to walk in and have somebody that can work with you to identify those resources.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
And speaking of things like tuition, barring lowering tuition, what are ways that colleges and universities helping students avoid debt in their future?
Yeah, dual enrollment courses are probably one answer to that question. So if you're, dual enrollment is a fancy way of saying if you're in high school and you can still take college classes and get high school and college credit at the same exact time for the same exact class for free.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Wow.
So, and we have that in other areas too. So that's, you know, that decreases debt. And then we also our faculty here have done a great job of reducing the cost of textbooks. So we've tracked what are called open educational resources, which is, again, a fancy term of like no textbook in the class because it's online. And we've saved students as of last winter $1 million in textbook prices.
Oh my.
Collectively,
that's-
obviously.
Oh.
You know, we're doing a lot to make sure that the cost of college in general is reduced. So we have a low tuition, but also on top of it, you know, textbooks can sometimes cost as much of as the class itself.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we've taken there's been a lot of work done here previous to my being here even,
Okay.
to make sure that is a priority. And so those are like the two major, like the dual enrollment, the Reconnect, obviously, which is free, and then these textbook prices are all trying to reduce the cost of college for students.
Well, I want to thank you for your
likewise.
time and this information that you've shared with us today regarding Delta College. And we look forward to hearing more good news and more about the success as far as Delta is concerned, and you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate
yes,
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks.
Our next segment features Judith Donahue from the League of Women Voters, who helps educate and remind us about the who, what, and where for voters as we prepared for the upcoming election cycle this November.
Judy, it is a pleasure to meet you. Welcome to Somos Hispanos, and thank you for your time to go over voting rights and tell us a little bit about the League of Women Voters. I understand that you are second vice president of the Midland area branch of League of Women Voters. Could you tell us a little bit about the organization?
The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. It is a nonpartisan grassroots nonprofit. It's dedicated to empowering everyone to fully participate in our democracy. It was founded in 1920, so we're over 100 years old. Its ongoing activities are registering voters, providing voter information, and very importantly, advocating for voter rights.
Great. And let's talk a little bit about that. Let's actually talk about the who, the what, and the where. First off, let's start about the question, who can register to vote in Michigan?
U.S. citizens can vote all over the United States and in Michigan. In Michigan, to register, you first have to register to vote. Everybody does. And so in Michigan, you register at the city or the township clerk, and you have to be a resident of the city or township at least 30 days or will be by election day. You need to be at least 17 and a half years old or will be by 18 by election day. You cannot be currently serving a jail sentence or a prison sentence.
And what kind of documentation is accepted when you go to register?
To register, the big one, of course, in Michigan, you need proof of residency. And this can be in the form of a current Michigan driver's license or state ID card. With your name on it and your current address in Michigan, you can bring a utility bill, you can bring a bank statement, or you can bring a government document with that information, again, your name and your current Michigan address on them. So that's what you need for a proof of residency.
Okay. And where does one go to register to vote?
You can go online, and that would be at michigan.gov/voter registration. If you use that method, you must have a valid Michigan driver's license or a state ID, and that would give information from that by just putting in the numbers.
Okay.
You can go to any of the Secretary of State branches throughout Michigan. And to me, the most important one is going to your city clerk or your township clerk, or in some cases the county clerk's office. But your city and your township clerks, they're closest to you.
Okay.
There are voter registration drives around the state and around the United States too, and they take place. Delta College has one, the various colleges have one, various institutions. The League of Women Voters has these also.
Okay.
And I want to stress this, if you go to the city clerk or the township clerk and you get the registration form, if you fill it out there, that's wonderful. If you take it home, it must be back by the October the 24th. It is so important, and you're going to hear me stress that there are 2 dates to keep in mind. One is October the 24th, so you know everything's going to be in on time, and the other one, of course, is the 8th of November, which is Election Day.
Okay, great. So it is a right to be able to vote via absentee ballot in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So anything more that you can tell us about the absentee ballots, where you can get one, how to fill it out, where to return it? And you just mentioned the deadline date, which is very important, but could you tell us a little bit more about some of the other aspects of obtaining a ballot?
Well, absolutely. We at the League are very, very pleased with absentee ballots. They've had absentee ballots, but previously it was only for senior citizens, or you had to have a really good reason why. Mm-hmm. Now anyone who's a citizen of Michigan can get an absentee ballot, which is wonderful, because the absentee ballot lets you, it's a way of voting early, first of all, and then it also lets you do it in the comfort of your home, and you don't have any excuse for it. So it's a really good thing. Who can have it? All people who are entitled to vote in the state of Michigan. You can request one at the city or the township clerk's office. And there you're only asking for the application. Okay, so you have to apply first for one. And so you would fill in the application form information that they request on the form. And then that would then be delivered to your home. Now, when the ballot arrives in the mail, and that's the only way it's going to arrive. It's going to arrive in the mail.
Okay.
And absentee ballots, and I'm going to throw this in, maybe I'll repeat it again, they are going to be available as of the 29th of September.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because there have been so many things that have been happening with court cases and all sorts of things, so it's right up to the line. They have everything ready. Once the absentee ballot arrives in the mail, you vote as if it were your ballot at the polls,
okay.
too. Then, very importantly, it comes with an envelope, and you fill out the place on the outside of the envelope with your official signature how you would sign when you register, and the date. And both of these are very important. You then deliver this absentee ballot by mail, because the envelope is, you just put a U.S. postage on it, and it's only one stamp. And then you could do it that way, or at each city clerk's office, township clerk's office, there is a drop box. It's a secure ballot box, and it's outside the area. I think in the city of Midland, where I live, it's right on the sidewalk outside the city hall, so it's very convenient.
Okay.
And again, best to get everything done by October the 24th.
Okay.
And I hesitate to say this because procrastinators love this. At the very latest, the absentee ballot at the city clerk's office on election day, but get it in early.
Okay. Are the voting ballots available in Spanish?
All ballots throughout the United States, and we're talking about Michigan now, they are available in Spanish and among many languages.
Okay.
And so it's a really great thing.
There are many resources for voters to obtain information on voting rights. This is one pamphlet that I'm familiar with, Know Your Rights. Could you talk a little bit about this pamphlet and where people may be able to obtain this?
I believe, as far as where they're able to be obtained, we are putting them out at libraries and some religious, some churches may have some. I'm not exactly sure, but I know the libraries, that's where we distribute a lot of the League of Women Voters information anyway. So that would be definitely, I'm sorry, and the other part was?
Oh, and Vote 411 is a place, it's a great place for information. And they have information specifically on the 2022 statewide ballot proposals. Can you tell us how Vote 411 is useful to voters?
Yes, happy to do so. 411 is a website.
Okay.
So you go to vote411.org, and it has the League of Women Voters puts the information in there. It does a lot of work obtaining that. It takes a lot of time to obtain the work, but it gives you all the voting election information. You can find your polling place. You can learn about your candidates, the choices that are out there for candidates. And basically, if you've got the absentee one, then you've got the information right there anyway, and it has information about the candidates. And so, or if you're not going to use absentee, you can also take the information that you get on 411 to the polls with you.
Great.
You can verify your registration, find your voting location, compare candidates. It's just a very helpful source of information. I wanted to go back a little bit to the absentee too, that you can't vote in both places. You can't send in an absentee ballot that's completed and go to the poll and vote.
Okay.
You have to do one or the other.
Okay.
And what brought that up was also, if you don't know where your registration, whether you're registered or where your precinct is, where your poll is, then you can go to, again, your city clerk, your wonderful city clerk, or your township clerk, and they have all this information for you. And again, the sooner the better that you do it.
What other resources or literature is available to voters?
Well, your local newspaper
Okay.
is a really good source. I know, again, I live in Midland, and they do, it has been increasing over the years, and they do a very good coverage, again, of we ask when we have candidate forums, for instance, the League of Women Voters, we have asked them questions which they have in advance, so they're prepared with their answers. And then we ask those questions. It's just, our job is to give information,
Right.
nothing more,
Right.
nothing more. And so the Midland Daily News does this too. They've asked the questions. I'm not sure whether they've looked at, well, I won't say anymore. Anyway, but they're good questions. And so they print all the answers the way people who watch our candidate forums
Okay.
can watch and see the same answers. So those are good sources.
Okay, great. And I know that there are several websites. Let's see, one that I'm familiar with is with the state of Michigan. I believe it's www.michiganvoting.org. So that's another one that
It's a very good one.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually it has much of the same information that Vote 411 has, I believe.
Exactly. And,
Sure.
Yeah, and also the Know Your Rights. I mean, we were all trying to say exactly the same thing, and just have as many places as people can, for them to go.
Right.
The more people who are informed, the better we are with voting. So
Right, right. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing this information with us today. I know it's going to be useful to our viewers, and keep up the good work. So, thank you.
And thank you very much for inviting me and allowing me to pass on my knowledge or about voting and the league knowledge about voting. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. These were really great segments with valuable information for our viewers. I encourage those who are eligible to vote to get out there and make your vote count. And if you're not yet registered, be sure to check out those resources Judith provided for us and go and get registered. That's it for today. A big thank you to our board and to Isabel once again for covering these great interviews on my behalf. Until next time, I'm Nina Haganis y Somos Hispanos.
Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.